All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Derek Distenfield, and I am the co-founder of GSD Venture Studios. And one of the things that I have learned in the last 15 plus years of working in technology is that time is one of the most precious resources that everybody has. And we really do appreciate that you're taking the opportunity to spend with us to learn about how AI and tech are transforming the workplace. At GSD Venture Studios, we travel the world looking for bold, resilient entrepreneurs. And we're really excited with the group of companies and technologists that we assembled for you today. One of the first people that you're going to be speaking with is Dr. David Yang, who is the co-founder of Eva.ai, which has a unique relationship to us because it was also co-founded by Gary Fowler, who is the co-founder of GSD Venture Studios. And it's been called one of the top HR tech companies in the world. And it's a surefire unicorn. And we're excited for you to learn about Eva and some of David's views on technology and AI in the workplace. We also have with us Fiona McKinnon, who is part of the GSD Labs portfolio company. She has an amazing product called Pebble, and she is the CEO and co-founder of a company called Moment. And we're excited for you all to take a moment and to learn about not only her, but what that really means and how that can help your workplaces. The next person is Cameron Collins. He is based all the way from Dubai and has recently closed a round of funding. He has an HR platform that supports companies to create a happy, healthy, and engaged workforce. And we're excited to hear about some of his views on how to drive that wellness into corporations. And then we have an audible. We have John, who's in for the CEO, Manoj of Impulse, but Impulse is a phenomenal company, and we're excited to have John talk about how he is building technologies that drive marketing and business excellence. So John, if you don't mind, pop on so everyone could see how good looking you are. And the last important person that I have the privilege to introduce is a guy that really needs no introduction. If you Google AI and Gary Fowler, his name will come up. But one of the things that I have also learned is that when you can have a co-founder that is not only just a phenomenal technologist, but a phenomenal person, it makes getting up every day exciting and great. And I'm sure that after the end of this, you'll be equally as impressed with Gary as I have been as his partner. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Gary Fowler, who will moderate this awesome discussion. Thank you so much again for joining.
Okay, sorry about that. Could you read my lips? It's great to be here. David, you're on mute too. So it's great to be here today. I appreciate the gracious introduction, Derek, and it's great to see some familiar faces and friends here today. So I'd like to get started. So we're talking about this digital transformation. 3 years ago, McKinsey said that 93% of the companies around the world were going through the digital transformation. But because of COVID, we had to really step things up, and we had to make our lives better. We had to do it faster, and we had to do it many times without being in front of the folks. So with that, David, I'd like to start with you. So you're on mute. Derek, can we take David off mute?
Yeah.
Fiona, you're off. No. I feel like this is one of those things.
Yes.
The
Yes,
technology is great. It's
I was
wonderful.
gonna
We've
say,
all
I
learned how
thought
to
maybe we're
use
doing,
it.
David, I thought maybe what we were doing is one of these shows, where you're doing the, like Mafia, where you're trying to figure out what the person's saying. Okay, here we are.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. The topic of and Derek brought this. The time is a most valuable part of our lives and our businesses, but we also know that our employees and our talent is also is a key of our success, business success and growth. So from my side, I would like to share our insights we had from my previous works, 12 companies I started in AI space, and how we transformed, how we applied AI technologies to understand people, to understand, to predict resignations, to understand well-being and burnout of our employees, how to facilitate what we call smart surveys, the technology which facilitates developmental real-time feedback between employees, allowing them to improve, allowing them to achieve more. So, Gary, where do you want me to start?
Well, I mean, David, just think about, we talk about it many times, but the world's changed. And how important is it today, if you look at it for the technology, how do we keep those workers engaged? How do we keep those workers happy? And I want to talk through the other panelists about it, but how do we do that? And how does a manager know if they're located in California and that person's in Moscow, that person's in New York, what's happening, and how can they value that critical human capital?
Yeah, it's during this remote and hybrid workspace, we don't see each other every day face to face in real life, and we should have new technologies which will allow us to keep our teams engaged, and we created this thing called EVA, YVA.ai, which allows to understand who works with who in corporate collaboration systems like Microsoft Teams, Slack, and other collaboration systems like Jira or GitHub or email. Understand that David has been working with Gary last week, for example, and Gary will receive 2-minute survey next week, asking to provide development feedback to David, what skills David does have, what skills David should improve, and also some other engagement survey engagement questions about the company overall. This technology, which we call smart surveys, which knows who should be asked about whom and when, solves the problem of traditional old school employee experience approaches. Old school approach is to understand, to get this information annually. But if we do our engagement service annually, we can only detect problem which already happened in the past. It's too late. It's too late to react because smart people and good key employees already left the company because we didn't hear them. Even now, importantly, during this pandemic, what the contemporary, the modern approach is to predict problem which didn't happen yet. And in order to do that, we need to have very, very exact, high frequent signal from our employees. And this is where AI meets our talents and allows to improve our well-being and efficiency.
Now, that's great. Thank you, David. Fiona, now coming over to you. So we look at mental well-being is critically important, especially during these days of stress and dysfunction. So tell us a little bit about, how you're looking at it, and a little bit about your incredible viewpoint and moment.
Sure. Thanks, Gary. And thanks, David. I was fearful that I was out of my depth here talking about technology, but Derek's right. What we do, everything we do these days is based in tech. And at Moment Company, we also believe in the value of the most powerful piece of technology we all own, and that's ourselves and our minds. And we're processing 11 million pieces of data every second, apparently. So how do we ensure that when our employees show up to use those pieces of technology and communication tools, which are awesome, that they're performing at the best they can as well? So at Moment Company, we're on a mission to help people reduce anxiety, stress, and burnout in the workplace by making the solutions really simple, quick, and effective, based on science, because it's important that we bring that in, but just to help people create mindful pauses throughout their busy working day. And we do that in a number of different ways, but it all starts with our breath, and it starts with our products, the Moment Pebble, which is a light guided breathing device, which just helps us regulate our nervous system and creates a little bit of space for us all to think more clearly. And it's that regular conscious break throughout the day that helps us kind of approach tasks in a new way. And we purposely built our technology to get people away from screens. I apologize in advance to everybody else on the panel, but we want people to put their phones down. We want them to get away from screens so that when they do come back to their desk, they've got that renewed energy, they've got that kind of Control Alt Delete system upgrade that they need in themselves, fully charged and kind of ready to go. And if you think about the way in which we work now, we're constantly at screens. We go from one Zoom call to another. And in those downtimes where we were even in the office before, maybe meeting people at the water cooler or even just going up and down the elevator, we now kind of sit on our phones and scroll. And when we do that, we're using the same part of our brain that we do when we work. So actually we have no downtime at all, but just 30 to 90 seconds away from our screens, just kind of using that little bit of a check-in can reinvigorate everyone and can bring a fresh sense of perspective and creativity. So we're looking to widen those gaps or moments between the technologies so that the human interacting with that is fully charged, loaded, and you know, ready to go. So that's the perspective that we're coming at it from. But as I say, we're not anti-tech. Our content is all delivered through different online channels, and you know, the communication technology that we have now is phenomenal, and it really boosts our mental health. The fact that I can speak to my friends in New Zealand, I can do business in Australia, you know, elderly people have been able to connect in a way across COVID has been so important to maintain that human connection. So I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater at all. We're just also here to say we can use it wisely, we can use it thoughtfully, and also our own inner guidance system is an important piece of tech we should be looking after.
No, I love it. I love it. And, you know, just listening to you speak, when you start talking about breathing, I started to realize my breathing. And you're right about it, because today with the digital transformation upon us, we really do have a lot. I mean, I don't know about each one of you, but I have a lot more calls than I've ever had in my life, because it used to be that I'd be driving in my car and you'd have some downtime, but it's like one after another, after another, after another. And you do need a time to reflect. You do need a time to take a break, and you do need a time to really look inward instead of outward sometimes. So it's just fantastic. I love it. So Cameron, coming up to you. So let's talk about WorkFam, and let's talk about what your HR platform's doing, and how can we look at, you know, workforce management and create that happy, healthy environment that we need to do in an engaged workforce.
Yeah, thanks for that, Gary. Firstly, you know, David, Fiona certainly resonate with a lot of the messages that you were kind of touching on. What we do at WorkFam is we really try and focus on, if you will, the softer elements of employee engagement. I think a lot of companies have historically in the past focused on the harder elements. And what I mean by softer is, you know, the fluffy side of HR. It's creating happy, healthy individuals. And as a result, those happier, healthier individuals are more productive, they're more creative, and they're more successful overall. Now, this is a pretty tough sell, if you will, because a lot of organizations want immediate, tangible return on their investment. But I think what both Fiona and I are kind of looking at here is a long-term play that needs to be nurtured, that requires attention and that requires consistency. So at WorkFam, really what we're trying to do is address these softer elements by building a more robust, more holistic solution that tackles on important topics like both physical and mental well-being, but that also ties in, a reward element into it. So when you are pursuing a healthy, more active lifestyle, when you're connecting with colleagues outside the workforce, and you're organically breaking down work silos, and your organization is encouraging you, to connect with people from across departments, you're incentivized, through points, through gamification, through leaderboards. And what you can eventually start to do with those points once you pursue a kind of a healthy, active lifestyle is you can tap into a rewards marketplace and then redeem those credits or those points that you accumulate from simply pursuing your passions, and exchange them for tangible rewards. What we really are trying to do at WorkFam is to try and, as I said, address those softer elements and build a robust solution. But now more than ever, really, companies globally are turning to HR solutions and softwares to help them retain employees and to help them retain high levels of engagement. And so we have to look at new, innovative ways to recognize our employees as well, right? I mean, as Fiona was mentioning, we no longer have those, what do you call them, water cooler conversations. So how do we increase the frequency at which people are having those chance encounters, right? Traditionally in the past, large organizations used to leverage their real estate in order to maximize those chance encounters, right? They'd strategically put their water cooler somewhere or their kitchen or whatever it is so that people from across different departments are more likely to interact with others. And so as companies begin to roll out kind of work from home policies or roll out this hybrid environment, they need to look at new ways of maximizing those chance encounters. And I think the key is to connect employees outside the organization based on their interests so that HR managers can kind of sit back and relax and let technology organically break down those work silos. Let technology drive mental and physical well-being, and let technology reward and incentivize your employees for going that extra mile. So, resonating with David and Fiona, kind of that is what we do at WorkFam.
No, I like it. So, I mean, are you tokenizing their behavior, their good behavior? Is that what happens? And what do they turn it in for, like real rewards? So I remember, did some work with Hewlett Packard many years ago. And I remember you could actually get points for different things and you turn them in for prizes. Is that what it's going to? Is that how we're rewarding the behavior? What happens?
Yeah, 100%. So there's a variety of ways that we kind of incentivize behavior. And one is by kind of distributing points and badges and gamifying a healthy, more active lifestyle. Whether you define, a healthy, more active lifestyle as a pottery class, a cooking class, a yoga session. For me, wellness is skydiving, it's wakeboarding, it's jet skiing. That to me allows me to, as Fiona was saying, disconnect from my, from my work and really ground myself. So incentivizing people to pursue their passions by allocating points and distributing those points. And again, as you mentioned, Gary, allowing them to redeem them for tangible rewards, whether that reward be a one-night stay at a hotel or whether it be a massage voucher, whatever the case might be. But over and above that, recognizing, contributions towards work. And again, over and above that, whether it's something as frequent as somebody's baby shower, a work anniversary, a birthday, a promotion, I mean, these sorts of things, what we call the micro moments within the organization, they happen frequently throughout the duration of the year, but often go unnoticed or undervalued. And if there's technology behind that kind of not only announces it, but also incentivizes you for doing these types of behaviors, I think will elevate the levels of employee engagement and thus increase the levels of productivity and therefore driving the bottom line. So I think that's our story.
No, I love it. And, showing that you care, showing those birthdays or anniversaries or a shower, that you're there and supportive, that's incredible. And being able to turn it into something tangible that they can see or feel or touch is really cool, especially as you said, skydiving, maybe some additional skydiving time, right? Reward with some more time in the plane up. So it's really fantastic. So
we should
Gabby,
integrate two systems. So
well, that's what I was thinking, David. I mean, Cameron and I have spoken about it before, but I think it would be really interesting because if you look at it, turn into tangible results, could be interesting. So Cameron, I'll give you, David is all right. Afterwards, I'll share your information with Cameron, or you can share it on chat.
It'd be fantastic.
All right. This is what it's all about, connecting all these pieces together.
Well, I just think we can have our moment pebble as one of the rewards as well, Cameron. So we'll definitely talk afterwards too.
Yeah,
I've been keeping an eye on your organization.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
Great.
I would love to have a chat.
Great.
Now, this is what's really cool is this is really a feel-good session. I do a lot of these, and this really makes me feel good. So I want to say that. So, and speaking about feeling good, Dr. Gabby Lang is here. Hi, Gabby. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Thank you. Hello to everyone.
So Gabby is supporting managers, and sorry, we didn't get a chance to introduce you, Gabby. It wasn't that we've forgotten, but an organization is confronted with conflict. So in the workplace, and she's an executive coach, combining insights from both business and psychology, resulting in stress relief. And she's got an incredible company called Up and Change. So tell us a little bit about it. I mean, how do you look at this? You've heard a lot from my other guests today. Where are you, and how do we make the workplace a better and from your standpoint, a less stressful place, and to be able to deal with conflicts more effectively?
Mm-hmm. We've already touched two topics, the people talking before, which is stress, of course. And I mean, all these constant change in the work dynamics are causing enormous stress for employees. And of course, if you're stressed, there are more conflicts. And we've also talked about the hybrid working. Cameron was touching that already, that people are not only sitting in the office, but there's people traveling, people in their home office and so on. And I would like to add a third angle, which is if you look at the essence of human skills. So if you look at the HR trends, and the World Economic Forum was talking about this, that human skills will be even more important in the future. And what we call human skills, these are skills like emotional skills, being personally competent, being socially competent, which means being able to collaborate, and also, regulating your feelings if you're stressed out. So if you think about all these three angles, increased stress level, accelerated by COVID, hybrid and location independence of employees, but also the lack of human skills in the working force, in the modern working force, this is where Up and Change comes in. So what we do is we help companies address the root causes of conflict in the workforce. So making employees capable of relieving stress, collaborating with other people, because without collaboration, you will not have diversity, you will not have creativity to solve the challenges of our world today. And so Up and Change offers an online platform with digital conflict resolution and leadership tools. So what we do is these digital tools address the conflicts effectively in a nutshell. So reducing the time you need, making it 100% digital, so location independent, which will be more important in the future, but also affordable. So we walk people through digitally, through structure, through psychological expertise, through techniques in a very condensed way, so that they have individual solutions at the end for specific conflict situations. So lack of creativity, lack of orientation, conflicts. And that'll be important, because if you then come together again in the workforce, you know, people are better capable of coping with stress situations, with conflict situations, because they've got the necessary human skills, the necessary personal competencies and social competencies. And that's what we are doing at Up and Change.
That's great. Thank you very much, Gabby. I appreciate it. And John, so what are your thoughts?
Well, we're kind of the impulse from XoXo Day. I'm based in actually Montreal, so I'm in North America. And really what we've done is pretty much what Cameron and David has done. We've already combined that as a holistic employee engagement and recognition platform that's integrated with companies' HRIS systems. We're also integrated with Slack, with Teams, with SAP SuccessFactors. And basically what it allows a corporation to do is build a system that's branded to them, that as an employee, I'm able to enter. And then when I'm in that system, there's three real areas I can look at. I can just encourage folks. So that's kind of your soft recognition. And let's face it, it's been going on for years. People just really want to know that their work is valued, that they're being appreciated, and that they're being recognized by their managers, who really drive the recognition and engagement in the corporations. Let's face it, people don't leave companies, they typically leave their managers. So we train that manager to deliver that type of environment. So what it allows you to do on the soft side, almost like a Facebook, is to recognize folks for various behaviors, your mission, vision, and values that you have in an organization. I can reach out and give you a badge. I can say congratulations. I can send you an e-card or a badge with respect to teamwork, innovation, whatever your values may be. The second part is I can be more formal, and then I can give you a recognition award that your manager may have to approve or not approve, depending on the value of the point system that Cameron touched on. And then what we also incorporate on the go is a pulse survey, because it's very important that you get the feedback from your employees, how they feel at any given time in the organization. And as David mentioned, if you're doing annual surveys, you're looking in the rearview mirror, and you really can't affect change in an organization. So the employees can do their own surveys. Hey, how am I doing? Can you give me some rating? Or I can survey the whole corporation with respect to how I'm feeling from an appreciation and recognition perspective on any given time. And especially now with hybrid workers and people who have been at home for 18 months, they've lost that connection with their fellow comrades at work. And they spend all day on Zooms. They get off of Zoom, then another Zoom. But during the call, the only time they really hear from their manager or from their peers if something didn't really go well. This platform, because it integrates with your platform you're using, you can really reach out and recognize someone. So, and then of course we have a great ecosystem of punching out to spend your points that covers a multitude of gift cards worldwide. So,
so you also have the rewards on the back end. So gift cards.
Exactly. Yeah, at back end, and the rewards could be experiential. It could be Amazon. It could be load a Visa card. Really, there's no limit to what can be in the program. We work with our clients from a regional perspective too. So, you know, what's popular and could be something an employee might want in India is certainly different from the Canadian market, the U.S. market, Mexico, wherever. So it's basically the punch out catalog is based on where the employee lives.
How's business? I mean, and how has it changed in the last 2 years?
It's to be honest, it's booming. And that's because people are recognizing that we have to appreciate our employees more. To think about the average day of someone at work, or sorry, in a hybrid model. I mean, I went through homeschooling, meetings with your children beside you, your dogs, your pets, and you're trying to manage all this demand from folks. And you don't get much appreciation or recognition from people internally because they're also busy as well. So it's finding a way to really put this as part of your day-to-day routine, and it becomes almost a to-do for your managers. You've got to start reaching out more to your people. Your job isn't, most people become managers because they're great at something technically, or they've been the #1 salesperson. Hey, guess what? We're going to make John a sales manager, but I don't have a whole lot of recognition and people skills behind me. I just know how to commit and how to do something. So I really leave that soft skill out. So that's what we're talking about. We need more soft skills, more development, and making sure people are appreciated at work.
And so when we reinforce those behaviors, we increase the probability they're going to happen time and time again. So
it's the old adage. I mean, you think about if you have children, we all get recognized as children because we want that behavior as a parent to happen again. Well, it's the same thing in the workforce, right? If we want someone to be innovative, we better start recognizing someone who's showing innovation. If we want people to be more productive in the call center, we better be recognizing them for the type of work they're doing. And people will do and repeat behaviors that are recognized.
That's great. Thanks, John. David, question for you. So how important is it to reward the employee? Do you think in terms of rewarding those behaviors, coming up with these tangible prizes, those kind of things, is that important? Is that what the end game? Or is it enough to really pat somebody back and say, good job, and send them a virtual cup that says they come in first place? What do you think?
Well, yeah. Well, I think any type of signal of recognition is very important. And obviously, John, Cameron, Fiona, everyone is absolutely right in terms of this recognition should happen, and should happen with after the right achievements or behavior. And very important from our perspective, we are trying to solve other part of this. It should happen at the right time. It should happen exactly at that moment when everyone actually remembers that moment. It's in many cases, it's a small moments. It's a small achievements. And people are busy. People are busy and they have a lot of things to do. They actually kind of okay. They very positive. If you ask, should we recognize each other? Yes, of course, but we forget about it. So absolutely agreeing with the concept of making this recognition elements and rewarding each other, even if it's a small thing, even it's a signal, it's the right signal. But we're trying to solve the other problem, to facilitate this situation when it should happen. So we created AI technologies which analyze with employee permission, with employee consent, analyze who sends messages to whom and when, and system actually facilitates the right situation. Please, you see, you kind of, you should probably say something to this person right now. And the user, the employee, someone said, oh yes, of course. So that problem we're solving when our AI technology, content intelligence and process intelligence technologies we applied with employee permission and employee consent helps them to not to lose this moment.
Yeah. And if I might just interject too.
Oh, sorry, we all want to jump in.
Go ahead. Who was first?
John, you go.
Go ahead, Fiona.
I was just really interested by that because what I felt when you were talking about that, there was a couple of things that came up for me, and that was culture. So reward for reward's sake can sometimes come across as being inauthentic. And so I feel that there's a larger conversation that needs to be had, that the culture truly embraces that, and it comes from the top down and sideways, that everybody is bought into that. Otherwise it could feel that it was almost an environment where if you weren't rewarded, is it bullying? Does it throw up conflict if there's any other areas? And the other one was trust. So trusting that, or employees trusting that managers trusting that their employees are working to the same kind of parameters, and that people feel that there's trust there that they're being rewarded on the same things, that there's a level playing field. So I guess my long rambling question back to you, David, is your technology picking up on the written word and kind of analyzing and making recommendations for that, or the spoken word? Or do you also encourage kind of education and empathy at that managerial level so that these technologies can be implemented in an authentic way?
It depends on the consent the user provides. There are at least 3 levels of consent. No, don't touch my passive signal at all. Just don't look at my emails, nothing, just 0. And in this case, it's only peer-to-peer, more classic pulse or micro 360, micro performance, micro skills, developmental feedback. But if the user provides the consent to look at the metadata, who sends message to whom and when, then our AI builds the cluster analysis of which we call collaboration circles. So each person now has a circle of people which is changing every week, where the algorithm believes that we are in mutual work team. And if the user provides even more consent to open the envelope and look at the sentiments, in this case, our AI reflects and detects 5 semantic signals: praise, conflict, negative, positive, and task. So it recognizes, for example, that I said, Fiona, please send presentation by Monday in any of 100 languages, or something like that, something which Fiona is asked to do. This type of communication will be labeled as a task. So during having these labels, algorithm decides even more deeper who works with who is an informal leader, informal person who kind of drives the process, and other situations. So this passive signal with employee consent allows our system to ask right questions to right people at the right moment, to provide developmental feedback to each other, and to recognize some good things.
Somebody else had a point. Was Cameron, was that you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Okay.
sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but Fiona, just getting back to what you said, we all know that every time culture will eat strategy, right? So a culture of recognition and appreciation, it's an old adage, you can give recognition without a reward, no question. But you should never give a reward without the recognition tied to it. So then people really understand why they're being rewarded, and that culture can then develop within an organization. And back to David's point, you've got to try to reach out to the folks and the managers, and we have a technology where say, hey, you know what, you haven't recognized anybody for a month. I mean, no one's doing anything for you. There's got to be an issue here. So you can start getting that involved as well from building culture.
And that again shows the importance of emotional competencies also for the leaders. And what I wanted to add to the discussion is the one thing is tangible rewards, if in words or giving somebody something. But of course, if you touch into the research of creativity and innovation, there's a lot, or a big part of internal passion for what you're doing. And that stimulates creativity, which is a precondition for innovation, of course. But the issue is the most creative person will not be successful in an uncreative culture, as Fiona mentioned. So InnoSparker, for example, one of the digital tools of Up and Change, one of the influencing factors for stimulating creativity and innovation is learning culture. And there's a huge difference in countries if you look at the learning culture. So if you look, for example, at German-speaking countries, you know, there's a lot of, you know, mistake culture, which of course, you know, ruins creativity, ruins motivation of employees. So I think there's an important way of, first of all, enforcing the empathy, which is, of course, you know, a social competence, you know, part of emotional intelligence in leaders. But on the other side, it's a job of managers and leaders to have the right culture within a company so that people can collaborate, people can openly give feedback, can openly speak up, be curious, make mistakes. And that's something which, especially under stressful conditions with certain stress typologies, is not possible. And that's why I think it is so important to also have a look at that.
No, that's great. Thanks, Gabby. Cameron,
Yeah.
did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just touching on research there, you know, I came across quite an interesting stat the other day, and it compares how to attract talent versus how to retain talent, right? And it talks along the lines, and, you know, forgive me if I'm slightly off here on the stats, but it says that in order to attract top talent, that top talent typically prioritizes a handful of factors, right? First, and perhaps most important, like a really attractive fixed salary. Secondly, you know, solid company reputation. And then third, something along the lines of like opportunity to grow. And once you are in that organization and you've been onboarded and you're there for a year, we have to start reassessing the orders of priority in terms of those factors. And what we see is that attractive fixed salary actually plummets down the list from number 1, you know, to number 8 or number 9. And, you know, a solid work-life balance climbs to that first or second position. Good relationships with colleagues and superiors climbs to number 2 and number 3. And, you know, Fiona touched on trust, the importance and power of trust, not only internally, but amongst your suppliers, amongst your distributors, has the potential to accelerate business performance exponentially. So yeah, just touching on that research, it's very interesting to see what attracts versus what retains, and how those factors and priorities are completely reshifted.
If I just add something here, that is really, you know, the hygienic factors and the motivational factors, and definitely salary, you know, is perhaps at the beginning important, but on the long run, not as important. And I think that's so important, because it's these soft skills, it's this, you know, the atmosphere, you know, things. And trust is easy, but if you're fearful, you can't trust. And I was at the summit today in Austria. The issue is, and that's in the psychological and emotional area, you know, people rationally won't be able to explain why they are not trusting people. So if you don't trust people, you start controlling them, you give them rules, you know, and the more rules you give them, you know, the less self-leadership is possible for the employee. And that's counterproductive for creativity and for motivation, of course. Yeah. So the thing is, the individual person has to learn this personal competence of regulating his own feelings, like fear, for example, getting resources, you know, in order to emphasize trust. And in this way, leaders and managers will be able to give more freedom to their people. And that stimulates, of course, creativity, collaboration, and, you know, it'll on the long run be important for any company. So, I mean, that's really something we do at Up and Change, but we do see there's a huge difference in countries, because if you look at German-speaking countries, for example, recruitment mostly is based on functional skills. I used to work for Egon Zehnder, you know, we were recruiting quite a lot, I'm not saying only, but quite a lot on the functional competencies and not on personal and social competencies. And that's something for the discussion, which I think the angle has to switch, and accelerated by COVID, you know, it is really highly important, not only in companies, also in society, in politics, education, and so on.
Yeah, it's great. Great. Well, one more comment and then wrap up. Anybody else? No? Okay, super. So I just, you know, I want to say that this is invigorating today. You know, one thing that we've learned over the last 18 months is that we all need to bind together. We need to be able to value each other. I had a chance to address the United Nations a little over a week ago, and they initially asked me to talk about AR and VR as a tool to combat violent extremism and terrorism. And they came to me and I said, we need to use technology as a tool for peace. We need to go out and make our employees' work lives better, safer, more interesting. We need to humanize it more. We need to care about them. And the tools that we've talked about today, these hyper-personalization tools, they'll allow us to reward in all kinds of different ways, both soft and ways to actually get products and services. They're it's very encouraging. So it's exciting. We've all been through a lot, but we've sustained, we're moving through it. And, you know, I'm hopeful that we can continue to move in the right direction. To all my audience today, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in to GSD Presents. Incredible companies today, friends that have from all over the world, from Austria to the Middle East to the UK. And John, I don't know where you are today.
I'm in Montreal.
In Montreal, that's right. And David in Portola Valley. So it's great to have you all here today. I'm sure we should have another part 2 of this because this is a fascinating conversation. And I see there's some potential partnerships coming out of this too. Thank you very much to everybody out there. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy. And most importantly, keep smiling. My name's Gary Fowler, and I'm your host today. Take care, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye
Thank
now.
you. Bye. Thank you.